Eternal vigilance remains the price we pay for freedom and safety. The Ondo State Security Network, codenamed AMotekun, arrested 31 suspected criminals over alleged kidnapping and ritual killings in the state. The commander of AMotekun in the states, Adetunji Adeleye, bemoaned influx of illegal headers into the states at night through the border with Kogi and Edo states. Let's share the story by TVC News Ayodiji Muradio with you.
These 31 suspects are among 45 persons arrested at different locations by operatives of the Ondo State Security Network, popularly called AMotekun Corps. They were arrested during various operations carried out by AMotekun operatives during Easter and Eid al-Fitr holidays. The offences range from attempted murder to illegal possession of firearms and kidnapping.
From the forests in Okiala.
State commander of the Corps, Adetunji Adeleye, said the suspects were arrested after careful monitoring. Adeleye said the suspect confessed to the crimes after proper profiling.
The last operation yielded about 45 criminals, out of which 31 of them had been profiled. They include suspected kidnappers, rapists, burglars. We even rigged in notorious ASU joint handlers that specializes in carrying goods.
He, however, raised the alarm over the influx of others into the state from neighboring Kogi and Edo states.
The reality is that in the last 1 month, we have very heavy and unusual influx of herdsmen into the state. Very, very heavy. As at yesterday, we were confronted with over 9,000 heads, and against the law of the land.
Second commander also reacted to questions on kidnapping cases recorded in Akure North local government area of the state.
Security agencies cutting across the board, the army, the civil defense, and AMotekun Corps, had actually combed the area to ensure that residents of Iju and Itagbulu can have peace. And as we talk now, I think peace has been restored in that local government.
According to the AMotekun commander, the suspect will be charged to court in the days ahead. Ayodiji Muradio, TVC News, Akure.
Solomon, from Ondo North and the Akoko area down to, Akure, they've been having these challenges, and most of the farmers there have left their farms, saying that terrorists have taken over their farmlands, and it has been like this for a long time.
I have been fascinated so far about the particular pool and interest. What is the attraction for these terrorists to this particular axis of the country? When these things happened up north, then we say, okay, nomads of some sort, moving about the whole place. What is the major attraction to that Ondo-Ekiti axis? I have always wondered about that, because of all the AMotekun groups after the Southwest political system system decided to set up the AMotekun, I think they'd be more active along this axis, in Ondo State especially. These guys have done a great job at what you call some sort of grassroots community policing, of that environment. But the thing is, we need to take a look at this more holistically, more strategically, so that the influx, as the Corps commander has just talked about it, so that they don't get overwhelmed. They probably need to put a lot more attention to this area, that this is not the job left for AMotekun alone. But I'm a bit curious as well about what is the major attraction, what is in that forest belt between Ondo and Ekiti that makes it so attractive. There must be something going on within that forest belt that is pulling this sort of number of terrorists to that area. Don't forget that just less than a year ago, we had the Owo massacre, where these guys, went in and stormed this place. I'm curious to know what the state at the federal level is doing beyond what AMotekun, which is just a creation within Ondo State, is doing to curb this. That will go a longer way to sort out the problem. I don't think this is a battle for AMotekun alone. The federal government needs to be a bit more active. The state forces have to be a bit more active to deal with this problem before it snowballs into something bigger than this.
The governor at a point in time was, pushing for these AMotekun guys to be carrying like AK-47 so that they'll be able to combat these people. And the politics between the federal government and all these little paramilitary organizations.
Yes, that is a fact. Solomon was asking, he doesn't know what attracts them. But you have to know that Ondo shares a border with Kogi State. And you have to know that Kogi is more like a hotbed of insurgency at a point. So it is always easier for them to move from Kogi.
They have terrorists.
Terrorists. There are so many terrorist cells in Kogi State. Don't forget that even recently when the president went to commission an event in Kogi State, a bomb blast. There was a bomb blast in Kogi. So that is, and also Ondo is a gateway into the southwest. On a daily basis, if you start at Bega here and see the number of trailers coming in on a daily basis and the number of people coming in from our brothers and sisters, brothers coming from the north. So it's most of them at times don't find it easy making it to Lagos. So they try to settle there. So it is it's a fertile ground for anybody. And we have so many forests. We don't have forests in Lagos. Yes, in Oyo State, I doubt if we really have that much of forest as a bet. If you look at Ekiti, if you are going from here to Edo State through the Shagamu Expressway, you see the amount of forest we have on the road from Ajibandele to Ore to Benin, and also, so those are easy places for them, and they feel that they'll be undetected. There was a time they wanted to start it on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. You remember where people were being kidnapped on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway on a daily basis until a joint task force of AMotekun, the police, and the military stopped that. So that is an issue. But my own personal...
Yes. Just hold on to a thought there. Yeah. We just quickly take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk more. This is Journalist Hangout, and we're looking at the security situation in Ondo State. And what we've seen here is that we've had traditional rulers killed. We've had a lot of, residents of that state, kidnapped. The number of kidnap cases they've had has gone up astronomically. We had the Owo massacre too, and when you want to, I think they need, as you rightly recommended, a kind of attention from the federal government.
No, usually, strategically, in military terms, the forest creates some cover strategically from an aerial point of view. When you have a canopy of forested areas, it provides opportunity for clandestine activities in terms of security. I also do not think that it is sufficient that it is just forested. I'm suspecting that there are some things going on in that forest. People don't just coagulate within a forest simply because, okay, they want to be there. Yes, we understand that some of these terrorists use the forest cover to go undetected and all of that for their clandestine activities. I also want to, I'm curious to know what sort of activities are going on in the forest belt that will keep them there. Because if there's nothing going on there, it is not sufficient to just stay under the forest cover, right? So I think these are things we need to investigate. It is not so.
Is Cocoa the attraction?
The first question is, because if you talk about Kogi, the first question is, what is in Kogi? Is Kogi just a transit point for these terrorists? What is it in Kogi that holds them, that allows them to use that place as a base and then go to other places? So importantly, so if you look at the forest belts there, we must then begin to ask, these places, have we mapped them out for strategic security, purposes? What is going on in these places that this place can hold them? What activities are going on there? So it must mean that there's something going on in this forest that we are not paying attention to. AMotekun won't be sufficient to handle this. They are doing their best, and I guess it would have been worse if AMotekun wasn't around, to curb some of the things that it is doing. I think that it is time for the Nigerian state to really stand up for her responsibility to protect her people. People cannot just come from anywhere, rolling anywhere, undocumented. We don't know who they are, hide in our forests, kill our people, maim our people, rape our women, and destroy our farmland. Food is getting expensive because of these things. We need to really do more than just what AMotekun is doing.
Now, one of the low points for this outgoing administration is in security. A lot of people would tell you that as a military general, retired general, that they expect President Muhammadu Buhari to have performed better. That if AMotekun is saying 9,000 herders sneaked into, a particular state, so what will be the templates, the new administration, to set a kind of agenda in terms of security for these states, especially states affected like this?
Personally, it's not just President Muhammadu Buhari that disappointed in terms of security. Members of the National Assembly also disappointed, because I know that part of the law that was supposed to be passed and signed into law by the president was that of state police. If that law had been passed on to the president to sign, then the president refused, then it would have been a different ballgame. Over the years, we've been talking about the fact that the Nigerian police is overstretched. The military have left their primary responsibilities, role as they're supposed to guard Nigeria against external forces. The primary responsibility of the police is to handle internal security. But that now has been taken over or jointly by the military, which shouldn't be. So I believe that if, first and foremost, we are talking about certain agenda, I would think that one of the foremost things to do with this incoming government is to make sure that we'll be able to look at that state policing and allow states to be able to participate. That is what is done all over the world. If you go to the countries of the world, you're always going to the States, US, you see there, counties have police of their own. The states have police of their own. Then you talk about the federal. Even universities have police of their own. Well, the essence of that is that so that policing will be localized. People that stay within certain environment, we know who and who within that environment. If you bring somebody from the north and take it to my village in Ondo, in Imo State, that doesn't know. Or take it to me, say, Solomon's, which is just an adjoining village to my own. To Solomon, will he know the people? Solomon, even as he is, knows the bad boys in his own village. So when you bring people from this, you may say that, there's this guy that, the governors will abuse it, they are there, but it's neither here nor there. The fact is that if you still look at the police, primarily, the states, they are funding the police the more. You understand what I'm saying? So that is the area I personally think. And then, good enough, once the new president comes, he's going to get his own new service chiefs. It seems that those that are on the saddle now probably have tried their best, and we thank them for what they have done. People with new idea will come in, and then the recruiting system within our policing. How do we recruit our policemen? We have barely about 300,000 policemen, or about, let me say, less than 500,000 policemen, to over 120 million people. Is it possible for them to be effectively policed? Which is why I still continue to appreciate the Southwest government, governors, what they're doing at AMotekun. If the Southeast have been doing half of what the Southwest is doing in terms of security, then we wouldn't find ourselves where's Ebubago? Ask yourself. The Ebubago that was lodged with so much noise in the Southeast, it is only in Ebonyi State that you see an element of. But even in that state, the governor is using it as a symbol of antagonizing opponents.
What amazes me about the push and pull about the state police is that people forget very quickly that Nigeria had state police before. We just disrupted everything. This country, the police was not centrally controlled. Western Nigeria had its own police. The East had its own police. The Federal had its own police because Lagos was a crown colony. So we've been there before. So it's not new to try to create state police, and it was not abused.
That is what I'm saying.
It was not abused.
That's what I'm saying.
The fear that people continually mourn, people create fear mongering, that these things was. In any case, if it happens, like you just talked about Ebonyi, it is part of the teething. It's part of the learning and relearning, because what we had was that when these things were disrupted far back in 1966, we went back to a state where, all the things we should have learned as a democratic nation from 1960, we now have to start relearning them. So it's natural. There's nothing wrong with going for state police. There's nothing wrong with the National Assembly having not been able to push it forward to the president is not commendable at all. I think it is something we need to deal with the incoming president.